Hello and welcome to our podcast series, Conversations with KidsPeace. I'm Bob Martin, and this time we're doing something a little different. We're having our podcast outside. Podcast al fresco, I guess you'd call it. We're at the Broadway campus of KidsPeace in Fountain Hill, Pennsylvania, which was the original campus of KidsPeace's predecessor organization, Wiley House. Today we're going to be talking about the structure behind me, the playground here at Broadway. It looks like a regular playground, but it's not, because in 2018, this particular facility was reconfigured, really reimagined, in order to meet the needs of children with autism and sensory sensitivity. With us is Alexis Harvey. She's program manager for KidsPeace community programs here at the Broadway campus. And Alexis, we mentioned that this was done a year ago, but you have actually been looking at this for several years, right?
Correct.
And now you basically had to figure out how this would work. What was that research like when you were starting to look at the idea of a playground that was more friendly to the kids that might have these situations?
It was a bit of a process. So first we actually went right to the source. Once we knew we might be able to redo the playground, we talked to the kids and we talked to the staff. We actually had them draw pictures of what their dream playgrounds would look like, which was pretty interesting to see. But we're able to take some pieces from there of what they were looking for. And then I also just did some research, went online. I looked at other sensory playgrounds around the country, even in our own backyard at Cedar Beach. What were some of the elements that they had that they felt were important? Because that's a local sensory sensitive park that was built with autism in mind. And then the last step was really reaching out to playground, companies and having a representative come out and meet with me to talk about then realistically and feasibly for our space, what could we do?
You mentioned that the number of elements making it configured, particularly the space. So why don't we take a couple minutes so you can show us some of the things that may not be completely obvious to folks who are looking at it from this vantage point. So join us. We've now moved down into the apparatus at the Broadway playground. And Alexis, let's start with something that's very common in playgrounds. But the slide here, the curly slide, that had some special needs that you had to reflect on, right?
Correct. So we had some of the basic structure of the playground to start with, which included a curly slide over here. But it was an enclosed tube. What the kids liked about it was the height of it. They liked that it curled. But what was a concern to us as safety is that we lost visual of the kids when they went inside. We couldn't reach them if they got stuck or needed help. And again, just keeping an eye on all the kids. It was hard when they would go in there to know that a client was in there. So what we did is we changed the slide. It's now an open slide, so we can keep a full visual of the kids, but they still get the element that they enjoyed so much about it.
And you were mentioning beforehand that this also allows the staff member to go down the slide with the kid if that's what the kid wants to have happen.
Correct.
Okay. Now over to our right, we have what looks like mushrooms. But these are all new elements too, right?
They are. So something that we wanted to add, so we talked about safety, but also engagement and some challenge to the playground is what we wanted to add. So we added the pod steppers here, as well as some of the climbing posts for the kids to get up to the higher levels. And
then on our left-hand side here, we have, I think, what did you call them?
Pod steppers.
Pod steppers. So what are these about?
Again, it's just a different, more challenging element for the kids to climb rather than your basic step ladder, which we do still have for the kids that are, that's the level that they're working at. But we wanted to have a variety of different ways that they could challenge themselves and climb and get some of that sensory feedback as well.
We mentioned that a lot of these things may be familiar to folks who know playgrounds, but we're going to take a look at something that's not that familiar. We're just going to go to the other side of the playground and take a look at that now. One of the features here at the Broadway playground is a feature that is unique to it. It's Sarah's Speedway. Now, Alexis, first of all, Sarah, that's an homage to someone who's very important to this program, right?
Correct. So Sarah was a client of the creator of our summer program, Sarah Smile, and meant quite a quite a lot to her, Paige Keeter, and named our summer program Sarah Smile after her. And so in continuing with that theme and that homage to her, we named this the Sarah Speedway.
So this is a board, and it's got a track that's put up there. What's sort of the therapeutic, what is the educational aspect that you're trying to get with this particular apparatus?
Sure. So one of the things that we teach, especially our younger kids that we have in our programs, is functional play. So something you might see with kids on the spectrum is a stimming behavior or repetitive behavior, which is sometimes just spinning the wheels on a car, rather than using the car functionally or playing with it the way a neurotypical child might play with it. So this Speedway allows us to show the child a more functional way of playing with this toy.
And more engaging because they can see the go and they can race. And we're going to show that here. So I've got the little police car. You've got the little fire engine. So we'll go here and we'll say, ready, set, go. You cut me off. And this was something that you guys kind of developed on your own, right?
Correct. Our behavior specialist, Ariel Quinn, she has a good mind for knowing how to engage children, and so she developed this and created it. She's also not too shabby with the power tools, so she literally built it. And as an added feature, the bottom part of the Speedway is made with chalkboard paint, so kids can also write on it with chalk as well.
What you're looking at, the black, that's wonderful.
Correct.
That's fantastic. So our last stop here is we're going to get on the merry-go-round. So let's go do that. Well, I said we were going to get on the merry-go-round, but I don't think we're going to do that. Instead, we'll give it a spin here. This is a common piece of apparatus on a lot of different playgrounds, but this one obviously looks a little different. Can you explain what you were looking for when you chose this particular type?
Sure. Well, I definitely wanted a merry-go-round that didn't look like the ones that I grew up on, the big metal, unsafe ones. So when we chose this merry-go-round, we chose one that, regardless of their age or developmental level or muscle tone, they could ride on this merry-go-round. So it allows for them to sit with a back to the seat. It allows them to stand. They can spin it themselves through the center, or they can have someone push them. But the engagement of it was something we were really interested in and wanted to make sure we had an element like this on our playground where they could engage with other kids on an equipment.
And we were talking earlier about the fact that this actually proved to be a learning experience for some of the staff, right?
Yes. So one of the things that we didn't really think about, before having the kids come on, we talked about what our safety rules for the playground are, but specifically for the merry-go-round, it really showed us that some of the kids needed some more specific merry-go-round rules and safety rules set out for them, such as how do you get on if it's already moving? How do you ask your peers or your friends to let you on instead of taking a leap onto a moving merry-go-round, or vice versa, how to communicate that you're done and you want to get off without, again, taking that leap while it's moving. That was something that we realized that's a social skill that we really needed to make sure all the kids had before they got on.
Wrapping up here at the Broadway Playground, we're now outside of the enclosure, and we're at a very special place. Behind us is the Board of Thanks. This is a recognition of all of the folks who contributed to the project in 2018 to build the playground. And we especially want to talk about the work of our Lehigh Valley KidsPeace Board of Associates.
Correct. They did an excellent job of rallying the community to support this cause, and if it wasn't for their fundraising efforts, the playground wouldn't have happened.
Looking at it from a big picture perspective, what does having this kind of facility mean, not just for kids in general, but for the kids that we're seeing in our programs here at Broadway?
Sure. So we work with a lot of kids who don't have a safe playground that they can go to with their families. Either their families have some safety concerns of elopements, or a lot of the playgrounds in the Lehigh Valley are not fenced in, which is concerning for a family, again, who has a child who has elopement risk. which a lot of the kids we work with do. So to have an enclosed playground that is safe, meets all safety regulations, but also has equipment that is meant to help them engage and be here with kids like them, with staff who can support that engagement, is really important to a lot of our families.
You spent several years, as we said, looking into this, researching it, talking to people and everything. If someone comes to you and says, hey, I heard you built one of these, what advice can you give me? What would you tell them?
I would say do your homework, do your research. So, I spent a lot of time looking online, again, at other playgrounds that met the need that I was looking for, visited local playgrounds to see what the kids were playing on, what features they had that seemed important for that type of structure. And then again, meeting with representatives from the playground providers to really get a good idea of what's feasible and would still meet the dream that I had for the playground.
It's kind of hard to believe that it's been a whole year since there, but that first day, the first time, can you describe what that was like?
Yeah, I will never forget the opening day of the playground. We had our Lehigh Valley Board of Associates here. We cut the ribbon and we were all lined up in front of the fence, and the kids from our after-school program came out, and it was their inaugural trip to the playground, their first one. They shook the hands of our Board of Associates and then just flooded the playground. The MerryGoRound, they immediately went to it as this new piece. They were climbing, they were playing tag. It was just amazing to see how excited they were to finally have a space to play.
And this will be where it is for years to come. Alexis, thank you for being with us. Alexis Harvey is Program Manager of Community Programs here at the Broadway campus for KidsPeace. As always, we're interested in your comments, questions, suggestions. Please go to kidspeace.org, click on the Contact Us tab at the top of the screen, and let us know what you think. The Conversations with KidsPeace podcast is produced by Robbie Allred. I'm Bob Martin. Thanks for joining us, and we hope that you'll join us again for more Conversations with KidsPeace. Take care.